Hello and welcome to Radio Free Nintendo. It is September 12th, 2024, and I'm your host, James Jones. I'm joined today by Mr. John Lindemann.
It's great to be here.
Mr. Greg Leahy.
Ahoy, hoy, everyone.
And Mr. Guillaume Vayette.
Good evening.
Now, you might have been fooled by those excellent impressions, but I assure you, we are not joined by Mr. John Lindemann or Mr. Greg Leahy. Now, we knew Greg wasn't going to be here. His Bills are playing right now against the Dolphins in a conference game on Amazon because, sure, fuck it, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
As of this moment, current score 24-10 at the half. Buffalo, 24-10, Buffalo. The Fins are pretty bad, so that's not surprising. John Lindemann's whereabouts are unknown. Now, John did tell us he was going to be out at some point in September. I do not recall what week it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't think he said for 2 weeks but yeah, maybe he did say this week, but last week was a surprise to me that he wasn't there.
Yes.
Definitely.
This is episode 892, by the way. The 2 stands for the fact there's only 2 of us here.
Mm-hmm. And actually, so yeah, I'm Guillaume. I'm here, and I was doing John and Greg voices. So that's what you heard. If you're still confused, that was me. But I am pretty good.
I was
at
also
this.
fooled.
Yeah.
I was also fooled into thinking they were here, despite them not being in our chat and us spending the last half hour talking about, boy, it's going to be really weird, just the 2 of us. But that's okay. I'm glad we're doing the show anyway, because next week is my last week on for a little bit. And
next week, I'm not going to be there. Wait.
That's right.
No, I will be. I'm not
edit.
going to be editing. Yeah. Okay, I will be there.
If next week rolls around and I'm the only motherfucker here, we're going to have a problem. We're going to have the worst or best RFN ever because I'm just going to grab people out of the NWR Discord.
Sure.
Get in here. I could do that now, but I see who's online right now, and
Well, don't
no
they
offense.
usually do their Mario Party at this basically at the same time as we do this, or
Mario Party's on Friday.
Oh, okay.
Mario Party is on the Fridays. In fact, they just did one last week.
Okay.
I don't remember what Mario Party game they played because
They're all the same.
I mean, yes. But some very unhinged things were said. Somebody made a visual comparison to what the white shy guy from Yoshi's Story looks like. You can figure it out on your own. I am not going to repeat it. And it's just generally unhinged behavior. If you're curious when you can catch Mario Party, that's at twitch.tv/Nintendo World Report. That's twitch.tv/Nintendo World Report, all one word. And they usually play it at about 7 or 8 p.m. It depends. Maybe a little bit later, Eastern, the first Friday of the month. Now, this is not a hard and fast rule. Sometimes it gets shifted around a little bit. And I believe, although they were weird about not wanting to say it, but also kind of saying it, but then trying to decide if they should say it or not, that was Xander's last appearance on Mario Party, which is a shame because Xander has been the habitual recipient of punishment games, which the winner of Mario Party issues to the loser of Mario Party. And the winner of Mario Party is very consistent. I'll let you go attend to see who it is.
He was also the life of the Mario Party.
You say that, but Xander kind of was, because he would show up with a cowboy hat on for when they were doing Western themed in Mario Party 2 or other weird stuff. But also he was responsible for the fact that they have graphics that they use for the frame that the game is in. And he would make it change between day and night on day and night turns. He put the work in. I also put the work in by being a menace in the chat. So if you wish to experience that next Friday, the next first Friday, I probably won't be there. So I won't be there to be a menace, but you can be a menace in the chat. I give you permission. Proactively. Right now, at least one member of that crew is listening and screaming, no! But it's too late. I don't have any voice of reason here to stop me. That's the first Friday of every month, twitch.tv/Nintendo World Report. Also, if you want to go see some Kingdom Hearts bullshit, there's pretty much always some kind of Kingdom Hearts stream going. So
every fucking day.
It feels like it. It's like, oh, we're going to stream Chain of Memories. And I'm thinking, oh, God. So you can do that and then go into the chat and ask, just go Google open-ended Kingdom Hearts lore questions and just drop them in the chat. They'll love that. I promise. Have I done that? Who can say? Ask them to explain the difference between a Heartless and the other thing I can't remember. It'll be fun. You'll have a great time, and you'll just think it's awful, because it is. So enjoy. Plans. What's our plan for this episode? Well, I guess we could talk about games we've been playing. I've been playing some games. Guillaume, I hope you've been playing some games.
Yeah, more or less.
I'm gonna need more today based on current attendance.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate. I haven't had that much time to play games, but I guess I do have a few things to mention.
Why don't we bring back something from the Mets days and alternate?
Okay.
Just so we can have some variety, because otherwise it'll be like I soliloquy for 30 minutes and then you do it, and it's like, we don't want to do that.
Sure.
So about 2 weeks ago, this is the start. Editor's note: this is the start of new business.
Mm-hmm.
About 2 weeks ago, I joked, I almost bought Mario Run. That would have been stupid. What a goddamn idiot I would have been to buy Mario Run. Only a fucking buffoon would buy Mario Run.
I own Mario Run.
What a child. What an absolute child I would have been to have bought Mario Run.
I bought it years ago.
What an absolute child you would be to buy it in 2024. If you didn't just hear, that was Mario of Mario Run saying, woohoo!
Okay.
I am the unproud owner of Super Mario Run. I want to talk about this thing because it merits discussion, and I don't entirely understand why. So, there's a lot of weird inclusions in this thing that I don't get. So let's go through it. So, at its core, get some music to go with it. This is gonna make the edit terrible. I shouldn't do this. At its core, Super Mario Run. Is it Super Mario Run or is it just Mario Run? It's
Super Mario Run.
Yeah. So the icon says Mario Run, but that might just be because Super Mario Run is too short or too long. But basically, it's these Mario 3D World style, New Super Mario styled stages that you can control just by tapping. And basically all tapping does is it makes your character jump. If you hold it, they'll long jump. You can kind of get a little bit of a flutter jump for some of them. There are multiple characters in the game. They do have some difference in their control. I believe Luigi has the higher jump. Peach can float. I don't know what the Toads do. I didn't notice anything special about them.
They might go faster.
Maybe. But essentially it's an auto runner. So Mario or whomever just goes.
Oh, the Toads, depending on their colors, will give you more... No, am I confusing that with Yoshi's? Anyway, you can get specific colors of Toads, because that's that weird thing where you challenge people's times, except that's not really their times, it's...
The rallies?
I don't know, some weird kind of AI generated, I guess, run that they would have made if they were online at that point. I don't know. But anyway,
yeah.
So you were kind of wagering that you're going to do better than their ghost is going to do, and then you lose or gain Toads.
Right.
Yeah. And you need certain colors of Toads if you want to unlock certain decor elements for your Mushroom Kingdom.
Yes. But at its most basal level, the game is these stages where you complete 6 stages of Mario running, and at that point you have Mario ran. So it's let me see how many it is. Oh, I can expand my kingdom by getting the Rainbow Bridge now. Oh, that's the wrong menu. God, your menu choices are not helpful, but I believe that Tour is Mario Run. Why is it called Tour? I don't know. It's the world tour. But there's 6 worlds with 4 stages, including a Bowser stage, which is either a castle, a fort, or an airship. And after you complete all six worlds, you unlock Star World, which has some other stages that require you do something to unlock them. So, for example, World Star 3, Fishing Boo taunts you. You have to win the Toad Rally 3 times in a row. We'll get to it. Desert Fuzz, which is Star 4. Collect 30 or more medals in a single round of Remix 10. That's a lot of fucking medals. We'll get to what the remixes are. I don't. The stages aren't very long. They're probably like a minute or 2.
Yeah.
And there are purple coins that you can collect in the stage, up to 5. You have to collect all of them in one run, and when you collect all of them in one run, you unlock another set of purple coins to collect, up to 3. And you get tickets for clearing a world. You get tickets for getting all the purple, getting a full set of purple coins. And you use those tickets to play either what's the name of the challenge mode that we were talking about? The
Rally 10 or
Rally, yeah, Rally or the Remix. So the Remix is just like short snippets of the level, back to back to back to back, and you don't have to clear them. But the goal is to get as many of the medals as you can, because you use those medals to buy things for your village. Or actually use those medals to unlock random pulls for things for your Mushroom Kingdom. We'll get to it. Otherwise, I don't really have any value. But as you go through a set of stages, I want to say it's 10. You essentially complete them, and then you get another set. So, looking at it, I am in area 19. So, I am on the 1, 2. I am preparing to start the 3rd round of 19 of 4. And Remix 10, which is the current remix, has this objective of get to level 30 and you can unlock Daisy. Now, I have been doing this for 2 weeks. I am nowhere near Daisy. I'm on 19. There are 4+ stages of 10 levels on every single or on every single so like to get to 20, I'm going to have to clear 4 rounds of 10 stages each. And each round takes a ticket. Now, you can do all of this without paying. But what I have found is the deeper you get into Remix 10, the longer the timers are to get to go again. So the first time it's like, it's a minute. Whatever, that's not very long. As of this point, like by by round 10, it was like 30 minutes between plays. I was like, no, you're going to fucking pay for this game, asshole. Once you pay for it, it doesn't unlock it because you still have to trade tickets, but there's no timer anymore. I find that the remix stages are better for absent-minded play because they're super short. Mm-hmm. I find that the regular stages, they aren't really that engaging. They're pretty easy. And they're just not that much fun. You know, like, it's impressive in a way that they manage to sort of distill an authentic New Super Mario Brothers experience down into just tapping your thumb. And we said something similar about Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass, but Phantom Hourglass felt like a fun and interesting Zelda game, ultimately. Like, yeah, it had severe limitations in its gameplay, or in its controls, because of the control mechanisms it decided to adopt. But it still fundamentally felt like a full Zelda game. This has the feel of Mario product. And what I mean by that, I don't mean that as derisively as it sounds, although I do mean a certain amount of derision. If you take a bunch of stages from Mario Maker, and not even random stages, maybe stages that are regarded as easy but pretty good, and just tie them all together, just in a bow, it doesn't feel like a Mario game, even if it's 10 really good stages with some Bowser fights. It just feels like 10 stages. And that's sort of what's going on here. Like, there's no continuity, there's no progression, really, that I can discern. There's not much in terms of things that can generate interest. It is very authentic in the Mario standpoint, in that you fight, what's his name? It's not Spike. Spike's not real.
Mm-hmm.
The large Koopa with no spikes on his shell that you often end up fighting as a mini boss.
What's his name? Boom Boom or something?
Boom Boom, yes. It does feel like a very authentic Mario game in that you fight Boom Boom in 4 out of the 6 worlds, but hey, you know, sometimes he jumps. Not usually, but sometimes. You get to fight Bowser, which again, meh. Basically Bowser is just get to the axe from Super Mario Brothers, except if Mario is in super mode, you can just run through Bowser and not do anything. Because you'll just tank the hit and get to the axe and you win. Congratulations, you did it. I think the bigger issue though is that like there's a certain amount of with the control. I'm impressed that they did it. So Mario will auto vault over things that are 1 block tall. That includes enemies. He'll just kind of pass over them.
Yeah, Goombas don't really hurt you unless you hit them from below. You know,
right? Or like I think you can kind of hit them if you're like falling in a weird way and get it, but you got to try basically.
Yeah.
Things that have spikes, Mario can't. Actually, Mario might be able to vault over those. I've never tried. Low blocks he can vault over.
Mm-hmm.
Gaps that are up to 2 wide, he will vault over. So, which is different than regular Mario, where if he's running, he can pass over single block gaps. This one, he can go through 2. But if you jump, which is just tapping your finger. Sorry, if you jump, which is just tapping your finger, he'll execute a jump mid-vault, and that will kill the enemy he's over. It'll give you a nice bounce, just like regular Mario, where if you jump and time it right when you hit, you'll get an extra bounce on it. There's a lot of hit things in midair to reach thing above, which makes sense. But there are some stages that are a little bit different where Mario can't just keep running forward. He's in a confined space. And so, like in a ghost house, you have to keep reversing directions, which you do by wall jumping off the edge of the screen. So basically anything you wall jump off of, Mario will change directions. And usually that's the edge of the screen because the screen's not scrolling. The Boom Boom fight's the same way, which really makes the Boom Boom fight feel trivial. So you climb up the side of the wall, then you just wall jump and land on him. I've knocked out Boom Boom in like 2 seconds before. Just bang, 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 done. And then, so like those stages are interesting a little bit because Mario reverses direction, but functionally this isn't that entertaining. Like it just kind of is. I beat it just for something to do. It feels very idle oriented, not IDOL, IDLE.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what phone games are, right? I know that some of them are. Yeah, but don't they though? Like, I mean,
no.
I don't know. Like
you could have made this game more challenging. Like I understand the control mechanism does put a restriction to some degree on what you could do. But there's nothing that says it had to be. I don't want to use the word dull, but dull is the word I want to use. There's nothing that said it had to be just kind of, make it super easy and do whatever. They could have had levels that are challenging because there's an easy mode, which I find like, oh my God, how easy must this be? And if you die, you just go into a bubble until you run out of bubbles. Mm-hmm. And Mario gets 2 bubbles per stage. That doesn't apply to the Mario Run stages. There, if you die, you lose any coins you picked up and move to the next one. But yeah, it just kind of is, I think, is the best way of describing my feelings about this thing.
Yeah.
I do think the Mario Run is more interesting, but the fact that I still don't have, like, I don't feel like I'm anywhere closer to unlocking Daisy. I mean, I've made it to level 19, so obviously I am closer. But it's like, why is it gotta be so hard? Like, this is nuts.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, like, they've got limited number of levels, but then, like, So you play against these ghosts of other people over and over again. You kind of very incrementally gain toes that will allow you to unlock new stuff. But it's meant to be played on your commute, with one hand. They made that whole, a big deal out of this. Like, you can just, hold your phone, play your phone with the same thumb that you're holding your phone in. Like, it's really designed so that you can hold on to the subway pole while you're while you're playing this. That's what it's for. So you're meant to play this on your commute every day for months. So...
Let's put it this way. I played through a stage of Remix 10 on the elliptical, going at about 195 strides a minute. Like, yeah, they're right. You can just do it. It does just work. But, it doesn't make it interesting. It just makes it a thing you can do, if that makes sense. And yeah, the challenge stages where you're playing against allegedly playing against ghost data. Those are more interesting to a certain degree because it's based on a combination of time and how many cool moves you did. Game's words, not mine. Because toads will applaud for you when you do a cool move. And at the end, actually it's coin based. I think it's the number of coins you collected. It is. It's the number of coins you collected and how many toads clap for you. And that gets you, essentially at the end, you and your competitor are scored against each other. And if you get the most, you get the toads that you impressed with your sick moves.
Yeah, so you want to be somersaulting everywhere. You want to be when you...
wall jump all the time.
Yeah, you land from a height that's higher than your normal jump height. Then, if you press the moment that you land, you do a roll on the ground, so that counts for something. And if you jump from that, you jump higher. So, there's a little bit of technique there. You have to know what's coming ahead in the level, basically. Also, that really helps. Yeah. Anyway, the whole. Also, before I forget, I just want to say that I want to recognize that we have Simon who wrote in, who reminded me of the whole one-handed gaming thing.
Yes.
He wrote about buying Super Mario Run on the day one and enjoyed it, but then didn't really. He found himself in Tokyo recently. Plenty of time standing on busy trains, usually with my phone out, so I'm reading the email now. Trying to quickly catch on Pokemon Go, but struggling to do so. Needing to hold onto the handles to prevent myself from falling. And then Super Mario Run popped into my mind. The whole thing about playing one-handed. So I downloaded the update, jumped in, played the full game exclusively while standing on the train in Tokyo, and by God, it worked so well and gave me a new appreciation for what they were exactly going for.
What's the sound of one-hand Mario?
Is that the title for this week?
It might be. There's some opportunity there.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm not super into phone games. I find that most games that you would... that have a little bit more meat on their bones are probably better played on an iPad anyway, at the very least, if not an Apple TV. On the phone, it's rough. I think that this is probably the level of simplicity that you want from a phone game, especially one that you're going to play, on your busy commute, packed like sardines. Maybe.
I just feel like it's just so uninteresting. It doesn't. It's. And again, this is probably something where if you're not somebody who's played literally every Mario game except this one, and yes, I am including that fucking nightmare Mario PC port from the 80s.
Okay.
I'm blanking on what that system was. It was the Sharp. I'm obviously gonna have higher expectations and a higher skill ceiling, even after I've adapted to the control scheme. It's just, it's $9. So to a certain degree, like, I'm not allowed to be that mad about it. And I'm not. I'm just kind of like, man, this could have been at least more of an experience, for lack of a better word.
Well, if you want an experience, try launching it whenever there's a new Mario game coming out. Because sometimes they have these little events. I should probably look this up because I don't remember offhand, but what was the last time? Like, they probably did something for, like, Luigi's Mansion at some point. For Mario Wonder, they had kind of Wonder-like effects, but I don't remember what that means. I think there were just, like, rainbows shooting out everywhere for some reason. There might have been something for the Princess Peach game. So, yeah, but, like, it's almost nothing. Like, it's just like, like, here's this added effect or something. There might be some extra thing you can unlock for your Plaza or your Mushroom Kingdom, but, nothing substantial.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to think of what I would actually want it to be. And I think what I land on is there's a sense when I'm playing this thing that I'm just seeing the same 4 stages over and over again. Even when I'm doing, like, the Mario Remix 10. Because you do end up just seeing this, like, it is literally just snippets of the stage. Yeah. And there's only 20 stages. And there's only, I don't know, what would you say, about 4 or 5 different stage types?
Yeah, at most.
Yeah, because there's the caves, there's the ones that are based on Mario base level, there's the castle, there's the airship, which is basically just a castle again. It's marginally different.
Did you say the haunted houses?
Oh yeah, there's the haunted houses. And that might be it. So, like, even if it's not technically the same stage, it doesn't feel different in any way. It is so unappreciably different that it's just like, I don't really feel like I'm getting anything out of this. And again, I understand it's a mobile game. It's not meant to be like a big, robust experience, but it doesn't make it feel like I'm having, I don't know what the word I want to use here is. It makes it feel like I'm just sort of doing the numbers. Like, all right, well, it's time to go harvest my Mario coins. Mm-hmm. Let me go do that.
Yeah.
Because it's, it's Mario o'clock. I need to do my Mario dailies. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I think how it is it's not an experience I want to have with Mario. Like, I don't want to have to do my Mario dailies. It's just, it doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like there are some ideas in here that are good. And like, what would I have done besides just say, well, make it harder? Because that's kind of a, reductionist answer. Like, I probably would have put more level types in there. I probably would have made the base levels maybe shorter, but more challenging. Especially because the relative kindness of the Mario vaulting over enemies, and also the fact that if you screw it up, you still get the bubble. Like, if you get hit by an enemy and run out of health, Mario will still come in a bubble twice, and you press the button or you tap the screen and it lets him loose. But, I think the part of the game that's most interesting is how you unlock stuff for the star stage. There was one that was like, it was an airship level and it said defeat 20 ninjas. The best I've been able to do, is like 17. So 20 is nuts. I have no idea what they even want me to do there.
There's a Koopa shell somewhere that you can kick and then take like the higher track or something.
There might be. I haven't figured it out. But like, that's at least something. That's different. Also, Mario will climb if he hits the side of a wall. Like, it's really generous in that respect. But yeah, like, there's just not enough variety. Like, a big part of A big part of what makes Mario games interesting is seeing the variety in them, and this game really doesn't have it. Now, what do you... I noted there's a gachapon portion of this game, and what it is as you complete Mario Tour stages, you unlock buildings, and also you can buy buildings with the coins you collect, and you unlock access to the buildings by doing the competitive thing and earning toads. It's a lot, but there's a mushroom kingdom that you can put buildings into.
Mm-hmm.
You have to unlock them, and then you get access to the building, and you get to put, I don't know, how would you word it? Like, it's essentially just put building on ground. Like, there's nothing interesting about the process.
Yeah, well, you probably don't remember this, but for the benefit of our listeners, I guess, I put a screenshot at some point. I had filled my Mushroom Kingdom with statues of Spike, which was very expensive. I had to play the game a lot to be able to do that, and then I posted the picture, and I was like, sometimes when you commit to something and you realize at the end it wasn't worth all the effort. Well, that was that.
Did you know that you can expand the Mushroom Kingdom?
Yeah, I think I've done that.
Okay,
it expanded on the left side and the right side. I think that's basically it.
Okay, I hadn't done it. I just noted that the game kept giving me hammers to break the to break the thwomps, and I couldn't figure out why, because I didn't have any thwomps left, but I had like 11 hammers, and I'm like, what do I do with these? And then eventually I saw, the Rainbow Bridge. Okay. It's, I don't know. There's just something about it that just feels a little bit, just think what the right word is. A little bit, I don't want to say, yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
Like, there are some ideas that are interesting. There are some things it does that are like, that's a little bit clever. But I never felt engaged. At best, I was idly burning time, which I guess that was their objective, but I would have liked to have seen them aspire for more, especially with all the rhetoric they were dropping about how they're going to improve mobile games as an experience. Because there's nothing, like, I actually don't feel like there's that much special going on. I also did want to point out that in the Google Play Store, if you search for Mario Run, you get so much fucking Mario branded shit that's not legit that I'm stunned that Nintendo didn't get mad at Google about that shit. Because it's a lot. It is so much. There is so much just counterfeit use of the Mario brand. But yeah, I like, look, my expectations went in and they were relatively low. And they still are. Like, I still don't expect it to be that involved, but I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more out of it, I think is the best way of putting it. Because there's an opportunity to play a Mario game on the go, and it's not that it turns out it's not that interesting. And that's a bummer. Like, the idea that there's kind of a boring Mario game out there feels weird to me. So, am I still, like, idly poking at it? Yeah, mostly because I feel like Remix 10 was probably the last remix. Like, I just kind of want to see it. But at the same time, like, I haven't felt the urge to keep playing it beyond just poke at the remixes until I go. But it takes so long to clear out a section that, yeah, it's I guess to your point, it's about playing it on a train. It's not about just beating it. And gamer brain I have is like, well, yeah, but it's here. It needs to be beaten. Like, what's the purpose? Oh my God. World 20 has 6 sub stages. God. So yeah, it's dull. It's dull. Like, that's the only way to describe it. Like, I appreciate that they managed to make Mario gameplay with a single input. And they did. Like, it is undeniably Mario gameplay. But it just doesn't have any personality. It doesn't. like, I never really was totally in on the, New Super Mario Brothers is personalityless. I felt like it had overstayed its welcome as an art style, but it definitely had personality. This feels much closer to what those claims were, if that makes sense. It feels much more vacuous. That's the word I'd use. So, yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I think I've said enough about this. What, 6 or 7 year old mobile game now? Maybe even older than that.
Yeah, well, you made me re-download it, but I'm looking at a lot of stuff that I didn't really remember. Like, I kind of lost, and also I don't know. Like, I've got this pink or purple warp pipe that if I click on it, it's like, oh yeah, the extra stages or something. Except that it tells me I need to have bought all the content, and I thought I had.
I didn't know you could buy not all the content. I thought it was always all the content.
Yeah, I'm very puzzled by what it's telling me. But yeah, it's for the special stages. So I don't know if I've done the thing you're talking about.
Huh.
It makes no sense. So it's in French, but it says you must buy all the worlds to be able to play this stage. And but it's not showing me where I can do that.
Weird.
And I thought I had, but maybe I just haven't downloaded everything. Maybe I need to restart.
Or it's not tied to your account right or something. I don't know.
But I did tie it anyway. Whatever.
I don't know. Who could say? But yeah, that's enough for this. Like, you've had the opportunity to play Mario Run if you felt so inclined, and I never did, and eventually it just, like, the thinking of how I got here is like, after saying, I almost downloaded it, then there's this thought of, well, there's an entire Mario game I haven't played. I played the fucking Sharp Mario game, I should play this. Right? And then it was like, right? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't play this.
Okay, I had to restore the purchase.
Oh,
it's all good.
Sure. Welcome to the bonus stages.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to leave it there. And Guillaume.
Yes.
What have you been doing?
The funny thing about Yakuza games is that they take up as much of your time as you're going to give it.
They sure do.
Yeah, so I'm still not progressing very far, and I kind of had this weird situation where, well, it's not weird. I know what happened. So after I did the whole business mini game with Kiryu, I finished a chapter, so it switched to Majima. Majima also had a whole business thing. I was not super pleased about that because I felt like I did my time, but sure, I'll play a slightly different minigame. I did that 2.8 times longer than I needed to, because, so I hadn't noticed, but so Majima's whole deal is that he runs a cabaret club, and so, like, as you said, what game does this ape? You said Dinner Dash or something?
Oh yeah, the Diner Dash. To a certain degree, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, like, the clients come in and you gotta match them with one of your girls, and you gotta keep them happy. Sometimes, like, there's going to be an icon, you got to go over there and fix a problem, like they need, like, more ice, or they need a
ladies'
menu
glass.
or whatever, or the guest glass. And anyway, so basically, like, you just go around and you, like, money just pops out of the tables basically when you're doing well, and you can have, like, a kind of a frenzy mode if you play your cards right, I guess. Anyway, it's not super complicated, but the so you keep doing that, you keep, and once you're, at the end of every session, you gain more fans of your club, and you gain them from these 5 different, like, you steal them from these 5 other enemy cabaret clubs.
Yes.
And so, like, when you reach a certain threshold, like, okay, the first cabaret club, somewhere it says, like, you need like 1,000 of their fans to beat them, basically, but I missed that. So all I knew was that if I got enough fans eventually, I would get to face off with them directly, and that would let me steal their main girl, and then move on to the next part of this whole thing. Like
put
move
them
on to
out
the
of
next
business.
cabaret. Yeah. So that's all I knew. I hadn't noticed that the game tells you how many you need, how many fans. And so for the last one, I was at like 28,000 fans. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I just needed like 8,000 for the previous club. I was like, why is the step so much higher here? Why is this so much harder? And it just like the thing that tells me you're done and you're going to face off against this cabaret, like just would not appear. And for some reason, like I keep resisting looking up stuff, except when it's answers to what I should say to these girls during the minigame that you kind of train them anyway, like a whole thing. But there are some things I didn't want to, I felt too lazy to look up. I would have saved so much time because the issue was I only needed 10,000 fans. So I was like, 18,000 over. And the reason why the thing never popped up is because the story marker, the checkpoint, how do you call that? The
progress, whatever.
Well, the spot where it's going to trigger,
right?
Like the trigger for the next story segment was Majima's home base, the Grand Cabaret.
Yes,
and the trigger to. Like if I, once you face up against the last of the cabaret clubs, the event happens at the Grand Cabaret.
Right.
So like at the same place. So
that spot was busy.
All that was needed was for me to move the story a little bit forward so that the next part of the story was going to be triggered someplace else than the Grand Cabaret.
That spot was in use by another marker, so it wouldn't spawn.
Yeah. So I did that, and finally, I could move on. So I had a lot of money after I played that minigame for so long.
Which means you could level Majima up all the way?
No, not even. I'm not sure. Man. I don't know what the trick is to get even more money, but like there's a kind of a pretty big step up still for both Kiryu and Majima. Like I feel like probably I'm meant to bet on the mud fights or whatever. Like there's probably something that gets me even more money than these mini games.
The Kiryu's one, I do think it really is just like get good at the build up the company, because his is really just an idle game ultimately.
There's only one hotel in the last batch of businesses that I haven't fully upgraded. That's at A, and it's not missing a whole lot for S.
Yeah.
So I'm almost there for that one. But yeah, the cabaret, I mean, it's giving me, substantial amount, but not enough to level up the last ring on Majima's skill circle thing.
Skill bonanza thing. Yeah, Majima is working on a different money-making tier than Kiryu. Kiryu is literally like a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that quite literally. He is literally a billionaire by the end of the game. But which all that money just goes away in a very Kiryu sort of outcome.
Sure.
But Majima, his is more about like getting the girls fully upgraded, getting the club really popular, and then that turbo mode that can kick in. It starts to kick in more and more frequently, so maybe it'll kick in 2 or 3 times in a session.
Right.
And you're pulling in such big dollars at the base rate that when that kicks in, if you can keep it going, for as long as possible, it can become a huge money maker. But yeah, Majima does, and Majima's upgrades cost less than Kiryu's because they do know that, like, okay, it's going to be a lot for this one.
Yeah. So now I've progressed a lot. Like I'm a few chapters past that, but yeah, like this whole situation where the trigger was at the same anyway. Like I had the the progress of the main story was blocking me from finishing this side game. Reminded me a lot of like this one issue I had with Shin Megami Tensei 4, where basically like every time that I was in a side mission, like it would tell me like, oh wait, like if you keep going past this point, first like you need to exit from your side mission because we can't let you go on. And like every single time, if I chose no, okay, I'm going to keep looking for a way to finish my side mission first. Turns out that the thing that I needed was past that barrier that the game put in front of me.
Oh,
It was stupid design. So yeah, Sega, Atlas, like they both like they go so well together. Like they have the same kind of game design blind spots, it seems. Or I don't know, maybe the team behind Yakuza poached some Atlas people and they poached the wrong people. I don't know, but so frustrating. But other than that, yeah, I'm enjoying the game. But it's so weird how like it's big budget, like it looks pretty good in some ways, but then like you often have so many of the same animations repeating, like two characters side by side will be barely differentiated, like they changed the nose on one and they called it a day. Like there's a very limited number of character models.
Oh yeah.
And like both of them will do the same animation at the same time.
Oh yeah. There's a running joke in the Yakuza fan base about this office that shows it's in Kamurocho. It shows up in so many games. Like Sega just keeps reusing it to the point now where I think they're in on the joke.
Probably.
Because that like the office will just show up in another game and they won't even redecorate it. It's literally the same office. It's in a different physical location. But like you go in the door and it's like, this is that same fucking office again. And the reason I think they're in on the joke is when they made the game in Dragon Engine and they finally had to fucking remake their assets, they remade the exact same office layout again.
Nice.
It's like, you absolute assholes.
Someone needs to, to see
just,
if maybe like it's their real life office or something.
I don't know. It's literally just a situation of like, these games have so much content in some ways, but in other ways, they just like, all right, but we don't need to actually spend time on this. That's not necessary. The only thing we need to spend time on is putting content into our game. Yeah. And it's like, okay, but that's not the content you're putting into the game is weird.
Yeah. And so many of the like the story segments are just like two people talking. They barely move. Like it's not like you don't expect like the cinematic games that like I don't know, like Sony fans might be used
Rockstar.
To at this point.
Oh yeah,
or Rockstar,
yeah. Their priorities are very different in that respect. Like they do tell. In many cases, I think Zero is actually pretty good about this. Nuanced and evocative and complex stories. Like there's a lot going on. There's a lot of pieces that are moving. It's not giving you everything right out of the gate. The story is 3-dimensional. With characters that are themselves 3-dimensional.
Yeah.
Conversely, the challenge is it spends its resources. It obviously doesn't have the resources of something like a Sony game, like that you're talking about here, because it just doesn't have that capacity. So they just don't do it. They just say like, no, that's not. We're not going to spend our time on getting this thing to be, the world's biggest game. We're going to make it big in the way we care about, and then in every other way, we're going to cut every corner we can find. And so if that means there's 20 characters, including this story important child that looks exactly like every other character, that's fine. We don't care. Look, here's the child that wants to talk to Miracle Jackson. And it's the same child that wanted to know about the man pretending to be a statue.
Sure.
Are they the same? Are they the same child? No, they're not. Stop asking questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's their approach, and I respect it to a certain degree. But there are definitely places where it feels like you guys needed to do better. I will say it does get better in some of the later games. In Yakuza 6, there is a lot of characters that are themselves unique and interesting. Now, it's still a Tokyo full of the same 25 people, but there's more distinct characters, for lack of a better word, like actual named characters that do things that are interactable and speak. And you can meet the star of Darts Live, who is I want to say he's from Singapore, and he believes that he speaks very good English. And so he insisted that he be featured in the game, I guess. I don't know. And he talks to Kiryu in English, and it's very bad and very funny. And maybe one of the best things about Yakuza 6. And yes, it's story mandatory. You talk to this darts guy who's a real-life darts player. A real-life professional dartsist. I don't know what the right term for a person who is an expert in the game of darts, but it's there. This entire series has the strangest like budgeting philosophy of any long-running series in the world.
I really wonder how the show is going to turn out. Like, there's no way they can replicate whatever makes this work in video game form. There's just no way. And it's coming out,
No.
Yeah, like on October 25th, so in like 6 weeks on Amazon, we're going to be seeing Kiryu probably kind of completely miss the mark, like just, I don't see how it's going to be as interesting.
Because, like, so much of the melodrama is going to be hard to pull off. Because, I mean, the plot of Yakuza 0 is dumb as hell.
Yeah.
Like, it's so dumb. It's a real estate transaction. And it's like, hey, we have to kill this woman because it would be too expensive to buy the real estate. Would it? Would it really? Like, I don't know if that's true, actually. Did anybody try to buy No, nobody tried to buy the real estate, huh? They just went immediately to murder. Okay, I guess.
She just might sell it to you for just a few mil if you leave her alone.
Yeah, if you just go like, hey, here's more money than you ever thought you might ever have. What if we just give you this in exchange for the property you don't even know you own? And no, immediate response is, killing is required to solve this problem. It's like, this is the worst. And yet, they're going to try to put this into a TV show where I feel like the inherent stupidity of it all just wouldn't work. Like, it's too stupid for seeing real humans say these lines. Like, it's fine to see Kiryu, like, I want to talk about the ending of Yakuza 6 because it's the dumbest shit in the world. It's Professor Layton level dumb. But seeing an actual human actor discuss the scenario that motivates literally everything about Yakuza 6 is so insane that, like, I don't think a human actor could get through the lines. I feel like when they start talking about why they had to import Chinese orphans to keep the plan alive, the actor's just going to look at the director and go, I can't say this. I'm physically incapable of saying this. Please rewrite this line. It is impossible. I will admit, though, I am curious. Like, I do want to know. Because it seems like such a bad idea.
Yeah, I'll definitely talk about it once it comes out.
Yeah, it's a bit like when they decided they wanted to do Rings of Power, and they didn't have the right to basically any of the content that they wanted to make the show about. And like, we'll just figure it out. It's like, are you okay? Go for it, Amazon. It will probably look good because Amazon has more money than God, and they spend it on these productions in a way that doesn't really make sense. Like, Amazon's budget for their originals is, I don't know, how much money do you need? But then again, I looked at the guy that they hired to be Kiryu, and I don't see it. Have you seen him?
No, only the fake teaser, the back tattoo thing.
He's very handsome, which is not Kiryu.
Hmm.
Let me see if I can find a picture of him. But also, he just, I don't know. There's something about how they're depicting him that just feels a little weird. They're gonna need to make him look a little bit, for lack of a better word, like scrunglier, a little rougher around the edges.
Because like I look at the teaser, and it's just like basically there are more scenes of the video game than there are live action anything.
They hadn't shot anything. I don't know. Like you said, it comes out in a month, so they better figure it out. Yeah, that's the like he doesn't look right. He looks too young.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
makeup's amazing. All right, do you want to talk about anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right, cool. All right, we are going to take a break here, and when we come back, we're going to do a little bit more new business, and then probably call it a show. So please stay tuned. We are back. Myself, Guillaume,
and Greg.
John Lindemann is here, and Greg.
Ahoy.
They're actually back. They're just really quiet. Mm-hmm. They're very shy today.
Just off camera.
Yep, all of us are here today now. We've all made our appearance. But what's that? Yeah, I know, Greg. We'll get to you. I promise. We'll get to your new business later. But for now, I'm going to pick up where my new business left off.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been playing Nintendo's most recently released game, Emio : something Famicom Detective Club.
The Smiling Man.
The Smiling Man, which is just Emio again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. It's Emio the Smiling Man : Famicom Detective Club. And they make pains to make it clear throughout the game that Emio is just the Smiling Man. Like, that's just the Japanese word for it. So, in Japanese, this would be the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club. Thank you, Nintendo. That's a good name. You did a fucking terrible job. Why did you name it this? But I am not done with the game. I was trying really, really hard to get to the end. Like, really, really hard. To put this in perspective, there are 12 chapters, at least as far as I have been told. I'm going to guess 3/4 of the way through chapter 11. I was trying really hard to get there so that I could talk about it as a complete experience on the show. And I just couldn't finish it today. I found, so I don't know where the plot's going to go. I'm going to say that right now. They've started giving me some possible swerves they could take. You know, like I'm starting to see some off ramps into Swerve Town that they could take me down. But they haven't committed to any of them yet. So like we went from an extended period of time of having none suspects in these murders to now having a couple. Maybe 3. There's 3, I think, and then there's a person that they've consistently like pointed to and gone, boy, that guy's weird, huh? But I think he's just harmless. Like they've started to soften up and go, no, he's just harmless and stupid. So let me give a little context here. So this is a Famicom Detective Club game. This is I can tell you right now, at no point did I think, I'll be on this show one day talking about another Famicom Detective Club game. Because how? Like, legitimately, I don't know how this happened. So, Famicom Detective Club, as the name would imply, were Japan-only adventure games released, I believe in 88 and 89, respectively. One was The Missing Heir, and then the other one was The Girl Who Stands Behind. And The Missing Heir, I believe, is the chronologically the second game, but it's the first one that came out.
Mm-hmm.
It's the introduction to the main character of the series, which is this teenage boy who's been hired to work for a private detective because the Japanese investigation system can't get anything done and instead relies on the efforts of private detectives because they're hidebound by policy and procedure and all kinds of stuff like that. I feel like this is probably the writer, who we'll get to in a second. That was probably him making a political statement about late 1980s Japanese justice system. That writer, by the way, is Yoshio Sakamoto of many games fame, and I'm not going to harp on any particular ones. You can't make me. So these games got remade on the Super Famicom. Again, did not make it to the West. And then the series died. There was a Famicom. There was a Satellaview third game, but it's not even really a game. It's just a visual novel. You just progress through it, where you play as the girl. I believe she is the titular girl who stands behind. That's kind of it in terms of the overarching plot for what we're dealing with here. I believe the Famicom games actually came out in two parts. So like they would release, actually no, Ayumi's in The Missing. Oh yeah, but that's because it's the second game. Yeah. Chronologically. So they would release on the Famicom, they released game 1, part 1, and then they released game 2, part 2, and then the next year it was game 2, part 1, game 2, part 2. And these are traditional, like, 1980s PC adventure games. So you have lots of choices of things you want to do. Do you want to call? Do you want to talk or listen, depending on how they're wording it? Do you want to take something? Do you want to look at stuff? Do you want to go somewhere? Travel, I believe is how they refer to it in this game. There might be some other ones. And basically, you just have a big, long menu of options you can pick from. And it's context sensitive. There might not be as many things there as others. So, like, you might have somebody in front of you, and you pick call, which is, hey, you, come here, I want to talk to you.
Right.
And they're standing right there, and they might just go, I'm right here.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? I'm right here. And if you pick talk, you might get more options than not. Like, they may just say something. There may not be any options. They may just immediately start talking. But you may also get choices on what you want to ask about. And as you talk about stuff, as you look at things in the environment, not much. It's not, Guillaume, you called it a pixel hunt. I think it was last week's episode. You don't do a lot of that, to be honest. I think look might actually be one of the most infrequently used commands. Like, it does happen occasionally, but you know, I've gone through whole chapters and maybe used look once.
Yeah, but in the demo, like, there was a specific part where I just could not make it advance, and I was trying everything. I don't even remember exactly what allowed me to move on, but
there is one of these in chapter 10 where you're talking to a guy whose name is Todoroki, which is a fun pun they put in there because the name Todoroki is just the word for car the kanji for car 3 times, and that's his name. And he works on cars. Also, the game wants to make sure you know that pun, so they rub your face in it. It was very like, okay, writers, I hear you, stop now. In that one case, like, they wanted you to look at his eyes so you could see that he's a compassionate man. But broadly speaking, it's not like when we say pixel hunt in like the 80s adventure game context in the West, where it's like click on everything, which was especially common when mice became a thing on computers, which is a thing that happened in my living memory. Kinda. Mice became generally available. That's when that became more of a prevalent thing, but because this was made for the Famicom, which had a D-pad, there wasn't so much like move cursor around screen and click on random stuff. And so, think is another option. Basically, the idea of these is a murder's happened. It's pretty much always a murder, although that's technically not true for The Missing Heir. Although a murder does happen, that's not why the investigation starts. The murder is a side content. You are this teenage boy's been hired by a detective to help him solve cases, and eventually they end up hiring the female co-lead Ayumi, who is a featured character in the second game, which is the prequel, etc., etc., etc. I would have never expected this series to make a comeback because it is extremely old school. But in what year was that? Like, I'm trying to think when the remake came out.
Not that long ago, right?
2021, I think. And this could have just it would have been work before COVID. The remakes for Super Nintendo came out in 1998. So like these were fucking late on the Super Nintendo. But in 2021 we got the 2-case remake of Missing Air and Girl Who Stands Behind. And they came to the West. And they are, and I talked about them at the time. They did not modernize the gameplay at all. In fact, if you were to change the graphics back to the old graphics, it's the same goddamn game. They just remade the visuals, and I think they modernized a little bit of stuff. And they put them all into one disc instead of, hey, part 1, part 2. And I really enjoyed my time with them. You know, they told interesting stories that boomed me a little bit on the swerve. It is a much more reading oriented than some other adventure games where you're just kind of sitting there and consuming it more than anything. So you think, all right, I actually think Think does I'm gonna start that sentence over again. I believe the Think option in this game, which is one of the choices you get in your menu, is actually a pretty effective hint system because it'll highlight things that it's trying to gesture you towards. But functionally, you can pretty much, for 98% of the interactions, you just brute force your way through it. So try to talk about everything. Eventually, the character you're talking to will run out of things to say about an item, and you'll just get ellipses, or they'll just repeat the same phrase over and over again. And then if all of the choices you have do that, it's like, okay, it's time to do something else. Let me think about it. And that might give you a hint. It might be like, they might give you a hint about something on his face, or they might give you a hint about something you should look at. They might give you, or your character might just have an inner monologue that turns into an outer conversation, and now there's a new prompt. Like, they might go like, oh, I should ask him about whatever. And then they'll mention it, and then that person will now have a new choice in the text field to continue the conversation. So it is for an adventure game more on the visual novel side. And so it is much more just consuming the story. But I really enjoyed the pacing of the first 2 games, and I think visually, they did this with Mages, who are VN adventure game developers. Those looked really good, and they had really nice music. The music is good in the Super Nintendo remake as well. I think I actually put that as an ending music one time. But a lot of love went into remaking those games, and we thought like that's the year of Sakamoto, because that was also the year we got Metroid. I think that was Dread. I think that was the Dread year, or at least it was announced. That was the year of Sakamoto. But we got a sequel. This about a month and a half ago, Nintendo put up this Emio video of a guy in a paper bag being creepy and weird. And then about a week later, it was confirmed that it was Emio - the Smiling Man : Famicom Detective Club. Somehow, we've decided to make a third one of these. And I said that the ones that came out in 2021 were not modernized at all. Nintendo did not go back to the drawing board and say, okay, how would we make this game now in 2021? They said, let's take this game from 1988 and visually upgrade it to 2021. And they did a great job. Well, if they're making a new game, what path did they pick? They picked the do the same thing path. So it is a game from 1988 that was developed in 2024. So it very much is the same as what came before it. So if you have not played any of these, I would recommend that you go after in North America, if you buy one of the two remakes, the second remake is cheaper. In Europe, Greg has mentioned that deal didn't apply. Mm-hmm. My recommendation would be, if you want to know if the series is for you, play The Missing Heir. It's the first one that came out. I think of the two, it's probably Girl Who Stands Behind. I might have liked it a little bit more. And The Girl Who Stands Behind is the prequel, so you could play that one first too. That introduces, but that one doesn't introduce the characters quite as well as The Missing Heir, because when The Missing Heir was written, none of these characters had backstory. Whereas when Girl Who Stands Behind was written, 2 of our 3 characters had backstory.
Yeah, it's pretty rare that you go wrong when you go with development order.
No, yeah, it's fine. Like, I think either order, I would say, is probably equally fine. It's not a Lufia situation where, like, Lufia 2 is the prequel, but you cannot play Lufia 2 before Lufia because you will never be able to touch Lufia because they made it so much better. These games are roughly comparable in pretty much every respect. I would say, if you're going to go try out the series, start with one of those, because Emio takes place a few years later. Our characters are 19 now, so they're adults, relatively speaking. They're supposed to be further along in their careers. It would be weird to go back because they're significantly more childish in the first 2 games because they are literal children. They are children employees of a detective, which feels immoral, but whatever. So I'm in 11 of 12, and I don't feel like I know where it's going to go. I feel like they've set a plate for me, and they are like going, look at this delicious meal. You should definitely eat it. And I'm being set up to be boomed. That this is too obvious, and they're stacking too many cards for me to go like, well, that's not it. But I'm enjoying it well enough so far. What I will say, so I will comment because she's going to hear this. Seren fucking hates this game. Mm-hmm. I don't understand it. She's explained it, but only insofar as I was willing to see outside of spoiler context. I
read the spoilers, actually.
Okay. I'm so close to the end. Whatever. Is she mad at how the game resolves? Is that what it is?
I'm not sure if I want to say anything.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like, she finds that Yoshio is a hack, like, doesn't know how to write.
Okay. I wouldn't go there, so that's just going to be a disagreement in styling. I would say that there is a lot of the characters bumbling around for, I don't know, 5 or 6 chapters. Chasing down leads and just trying to build up the middle narrative, because they're going after a case. This is a murder case that has parallels to a series of murders that happened 18 years ago, tied to the victims having paper bags put on their head after they were killed with a smiley on it, a smiley face. And 18 years later, there's another one of these. But that detail, the whole paper bag thing, the way the individuals were killed, and the profile of all the victims being similar was public knowledge. The way they were killed was public knowledge, but the paper bag detail was not public knowledge because the police didn't want that out there, because that was kind of how they were investigating it. Like, that was the secret detail they were holding on to. Also, in their words, it's really creepy. Suddenly there's another one. So now the question is, okay, well, it can't be a copycat because we didn't give that detail out. So it's either somebody who knows about it, which means it's somebody connected to the police force. Not necessarily somebody in it, because it could be somebody they told. or the more terrifying option of, oh fuck, they're back. And it was basically 3 kills in I want to say it was like a 3-month window. So there's that like, it was a serial killer who's back kind of thing. And so there were so many loose threads from the original investigation because everything dead ended. That's why they bring in a detective. And so your job is to try to run down the dead ends. So, Ayumi, who is the young lady who works there, is pursuing leads from students at the school where the victim went, because she knows a teacher there. The main character who you name, I will give the game credit, it saw that I had a save and carried over my name from that, is investigating a couple things. There are some missing people who were attached to that case that they're not the victims as far as we know. They just kind of fucking disappeared around the time the case happened. So he's investigating those because they are connected in a way that is confusing. And so the police have always wanted to follow up on them, but they either assumed they were dead and just we never found the bodies, or they had gone into some kind of deep hiding. And so you're looking for these individuals. You're trying to learn more about them. And then your boss is out investigating this rumor, not a rumor, urban legend that's similar to the story, or similar to the murders that happened, but different, distinct. But again, the police never gave away the detail about the paper bag, so it's not clear how the urban legend got started. So you never really get to see what your boss is up to. You get brief looks into what he's finding when he calls you on his cell phone that he gave you. But the main character and Tachibana are Ayumi are you're basically bouncing between controlling them. So Ayumi's going to the school. She's talking to a teacher. She's talking to some students. She's getting some more background on our victim. The main character is out trying to track down the history of these individuals because the police literally refuse to give him anything except here's a picture of what he looks like. Good luck. But also, please go investigate him. It's like, why can't you give me the details on the person you're hiring me to investigate? That's very stupid. So there's those two are trying to advance the plot in pieces, but because almost entirely they're just building background, not a lot's happening. If that makes sense. Like the plot's not really moving forward because they're establishing the background of events that transpired either a few days ago in the case of the recent murder or 18 years ago in the case of the other previous 3. And so you essentially start with cutouts of names. It's like, this is the name of a person who was killed. And the main character goes out and goes, like, literally there's a chapter that is go to the library to pull up old newspapers and see if you can find how these murders were covered. And so, yeah, it's not very action oriented for a long time. Only recently, as the game started to set the table with possible suspects, and we started to get more insight on not what this character was doing 18 years ago, but what this character was, why this character might have disappeared, where this character might have gone, who this character was beyond just a name. That's kind of where I've picked it up now. And since I'm in chapter 11 of 12, and that probably started around 10, that does feel very late. So there is a long time of just like, nothing's coming together yet. But at the same time, like, it's not that you're not gaining new information. You're consistently gaining new information. And the game has this notebook system where your character is filling out a notebook about every suspect as they go. And it's actually a really good way to kind of review the case. It is not fast. And so as a consequence, I'm playing it at night. And as you might have just noticed from my yawning, as it gets late, I get tired.
Yeah.
So I'm not making a ton of progress in this game. I'm playing maybe a chapter a night, and then I'm tired, and I put it up. And a chapter is maybe 30 minutes to an hour. So it is making it a little bit slower. I missed a couple days of playing and I didn't feel like I was super compelled to. So it's obviously not, the mystery hasn't settled in on me in a way that's like, I need to know where this is going. Missing Air, I definitely feel like it got to a spot of like, all right, I figured out what the game's going to do. How's it going to get there? That I became much more interested in sticking to it and reading it in detail just to know how is it going to cross that bridge. But I'm enjoying it. I feel like there's a lot of loose ends considering how late I am in the game. And if you were to restructure the plot, it is possible you could have tied up some of the historical mysteries early and left it mysterious, I think. Obviously, I don't know how they're going to wrap. So maybe not. Maybe the ending that they're going for, they did have to wrap them all at one time. But I feel like you could have written the story in such a way that maybe some of the details wrap earlier than others, but contribute to wrapping up later and more important or more high-level mysteries. And so that might be a place where I feel like the writing misses a little bit. It just doesn't quite have... it doesn't feel like I'm making a ton of progress, even though I can openly recognize after every chapter I understand a bit more about the world I'm operating in and the characters in it. And I can start to kind of like mind model what's happening in this case. But it's still very fragmentary, even up until chapter 10. So, like I said, I'm enjoying it up until now, but of course it's a mystery, and mysteries, if they don't stick the landing, can very much negatively impact how you feel about them in the last minute. A mystery
I played through Heavy Rain, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Heavy Rain's ending sucks. It's terrible.
It makes everything that happened before make no fucking sense. It's so dumb.
I mean, I will give away a little bit of it. The murderer spends time in the game thinking about, if I was the murderer, what would I do? An internal monologue, despite the fact that they are the murderer and know it. It's not like a split personality shit. If they were lying to another person, which they do, that makes sense. If they're lying to themselves, an internal monologue, that doesn't make sense. And David Cage is a terrible writer in a lot of ways. In a lot of fucking ways. Yeah. Much worse than Sakamoto. Also,
as far as you know, but again, you've got a whole chapter to go.
No, because that robot one, where at one point he claimed it wasn't a parallel for race, despite the fact the robots had to sit on the back of the bus. Yeah.
Detroit.
If it's not a parallel, if it's not a parallel for race, you're a worse writer than I thought you were, and I thought you were terrible. It obviously was. He's just a fucking loon, and apparently a terrible person to work with. So that's cool. Also bad at hiring because he keeps hiring French children to play American children, which is very funny to me. When you hear kids on an American military base running through with French accents. It's so good. Why does he do that? He was working with Sony. He could have gotten them to hire some American children to do voice acting. What a hack. I do like that there is a little bit... one of the things I like about this game right now is there's a character that makes me uncomfortable every time we talk to them. And he hasn't done anything. He just makes me uncomfortable. And he very obviously has a thing for Ayumi. Although the main character also has a thing for Ayumi. So the game really wants us to know that everyone thinks Ayumi is very pretty. She lights up a room, I believe, as one character says. they really want to insist that we know how pretty she is. And he's just got a thing for her, and it's a little bit weird and uncomfortable. So like when he comes up in a scene, I'm like, oh no. Oh God. All right, let's just get through this. But that seems to have been their deliberate intent, so maybe it's fine. I say this now, but then if it turns out he's the murderer, I'm just going to be upset. I'm just going to be upset because it wouldn't make any goddamn sense. But we'll find out. But yeah, I like I said, these games are hyper traditional. This is exactly what that game was like when it came. Well, not this one. What its predecessors were like when they came out, modernized, but only from a audiovisual standpoint. Voice acting is excellent. Of course, it's all in Japanese, so your mileage may vary on how much the voice acting actually ends up mattering to you. But I think it is done really super well. Like I said, it looks great. The art for these games, for the 2 remakes and for this one, have been phenomenal. There are a handful of moments when you're dealing with paper bag murderer that are legitimately creepy and unsettling in a not super, like unsettling way, but just like, I don't like where this is going at all kind of way. So yeah, I am, if you're able to deal with the, what's the right word here? I don't want to say arcane. The,
archaic.
Archaic, yes, that's the word I wanted. With the archaicness of this game, which I think is done in part because I don't know that they know how to make this game in a more modern way, and in part because it's a nostalgia play. I think there's something interesting to be had here, although, again, I would probably recommend going and playing the first game, Missing Air, or the second game, The Girl Who Stands Behind, and then play the Missing Air before playing this one. Because, one, it does seem to expect you've played those games, and 2, I feel like they're more approachable than this one. But, yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying my time with it thus far. It's just, I start playing at 11 p.m., and then I'm like, oh, man, I'm tired. This is hard to get through at 11 p.m., and I end up saving it halfway through a chapter and then picking it back up. But yeah, again, I haven't seen the end. I don't know if they stick the landing. There is an ending on the board that they could go with that I found in my head that is just awful. Just an awful ending. And if that's the one they end up landing on, I'm going to be upset. But I can't imagine they're going in that direction. It's too stupid. It's too stupid. But it's there, and I see it on the horizon, and I just think, oh, man, not that one, please. So, we'll see. But, yeah. If you enjoy mysteries, visual novels, because I would argue this is more visual novel than an adventure game, but whatever. And, a certain amount, a tolerable amount of weird bullshit. A sub-Yakuza amount of weird bullshit. There's potentially something here for you. I'm enjoying it, and I think a decent amount of our audience probably would as well. But I have seen and heard people feeling in a very different way about this game, and that's fine. I might be on the show next week going, I just saw the ending and fuck this game forever, but I don't think so. I think they'll probably stick a landing of some value, and that'll get it through.
We'll see.
We'll see. I don't know. Like the virulence of the response was a little surprising, so we'll see how it goes. Guillaume.
Yep.
Take some.
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned. Oh wait, did I cut out that part? I told you last week that I had started Natsu-Mon, 20th Century Summer Kid. I believe that's the name, unless it's Vacation Kid. Natsu-Mon. Karen is learning Japanese right now in provision for a Japan trip, like 2 years from now.
It is 20th Century Summer Kid, by the way.
Summer. Okay.
Natsu-Mon.
So she told me that Natsu basically means summer. So
yep,
Summer Kid, 20th Century Summer Kid. So we've got another one of these titles where it's just like it keeps it repeats the. Anyway, whatever. So I started playing this game. This is part of a long-running I think, game series that if people have played Attack of the Friday Monsters, it's from the same developer and or just maybe the director of those games. But I believe that like there's a long-running Japan-only series, My Summer Vacation, I believe it's called. Yes. And never really came over here, but I know that from, if people remember 1up.com, Ray Barnholt carried a torch for these games, probably still does. And yeah, so it's for the first time we're getting one of these. So basically, you are playing as a little Japanese kid trying to have a good summer vacation, I suppose. There are a lot of parallels with an Animal Crossing game, because a lot of what you're doing is like catching bugs and filling up a museum. Okay, so those are the two biggest, I guess, comparisons that you can make. But also, I think that there's a good dose of something like a short hike in this game, because you also have this. So this kid is his parents are in a traveling circus troupe, and so the game starts. You're at this town that you don't really know, this very small, sleepy town. And so you're going to be there for the month, and your parents are called away because there's some issue with the finances. And so like you're staying with this lady. I don't know if she's an aunt or something, but anyway, so basically you're left to your own devices. You are handed a summer homework kit that's been prepared by the local teacher. I don't know if that's like a common thing in Japan, but basically...
I always had one when I was in school. Here's your summer homework. Make sure it's done by the start of the school year.
It was not really a thing over here. Okay. Interesting. But also, like what that entails is like... basically like writing about your vacation, and also like it comes with a bug collecting kit. So basically like one of the first things you do is that you just go around and you keep pressing Y to grab whatever bug is within reach. And this kid has a stamina meter. You start with like 3 out of 5 stickers that represent your stamina, so that allows you to run or to climb. And so that's where I think the comparison with a short hike comes in. Like you go around, you can talk to people, you can do errands for them, but also you can find ways to upgrade your stamina, which will mean that you get to climb higher places. You're going to be able to explore more. So yeah, so there's a little bit of that going on. Also, like unlike Animal Crossing, you have a finite number of days. Like there is, so far I've learned that if the circus doesn't get a certain amount of money by the 15th of August, and the game started on the 1st, so by the 15th of August 1999, because it is 20th Century Summer Kid, the summer vacation, then they're not going to be able to perform. So there's that deadline. I'm not sure if the game stops if you don't collect that much money by that time, but there's something's going to happen. There's definitely like some sort of branching that happens. Either you get a hard game over, or your summer is drastically different than if you manage to collect the money.
My summer is ruined.
Yeah, and otherwise, like the game, like it basically happens over the course of August. So yeah, so I'm enjoying it. Like it's, you can imagine it's a kind of very, mostly like laid back experience. You collect stuff, you explore. There is a day and night system. So there is a demo on the eShop of this game. So you can play through the first day. Unfortunately, I think you don't get the ability to, like, you don't get the fishing rod on the first day. You might not even get the bug collecting net, but you can still catch bugs with your hands. So you still can do quite a lot. So I got the demo, and like an idiot, I just kind of played it very safe, and I didn't know when it would end. So, like, okay, go through some story scenes, and then, like, collect some bugs, and then, like, the game warns me that if I'm not back home by 10 in the evening, and at first the game doesn't give you a clock, so you can't even check. But it told me, like, you're going to pass out, and, like, you're going to wake up, and you're going to miss some things in the morning. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to be a good little boy. I'm going to go back and not do too much in the evening. And then the demo ended when the next day was going to start. So I kind of screwed myself out of seeing a lot of the demo when I played it. And then I told Karen, who's very, into learning about Japanese culture right now. I told her about the game. She played the demo, and she didn't care about going to bed when she was supposed to. Turns out that like she could, keep going around pretty late in the night, and there was a lot to do. So she saw a whole lot more of the game than I did. So that's my recommendation for if you're trying out the demo. Just ignore what the game tells you about going to bed, but also you can go into the settings and you can make it easier for yourself by slowing down the passage of time. So if you want a really, really chill experience, you can do that by making the day much longer than it would be otherwise, so you can accomplish more.
Gotcha.
And you can do that in the full game too. But right now I'm playing it. I didn't touch the standard time options because I feel like that's part of the appeal, I suppose, of this series, like trying to cram in as much adventure into a short summer vacation as you can. So I'm trying to play the game on its own terms, but then again, the game just flat out gives you the option to slow it down. So that would also be playing it on its own terms. I don't know, but I'm trying. For the first time through, I'm trying something.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's pretty fun. I've collected a lot of bugs. I'm already at 7 stickers out of 10. So I think I'm probably good enough to climb on top of the lighthouse. Thankfully, the kid doesn't take fall damage. Maybe because he's from, a circus troupe. I guess he learned how to...
Very good.
Yeah, he learned how to... He doesn't even need to roll when he hits the ground. He's just like... He's built different.
The ground rolls for him.
Yeah. I've done some stuff. I've collected some fossils for the museum, some rare insects, explored a cave, I go and play around freaking construction sites. No one can stop me. The train stops in front of me if I stay on the tracks. So
nice.
It might seem like this kid is running after trouble, but apparently nothing will hurt him. So
the world bends to his will.
Exactly.
Nice. Lucky.
Yeah, and what is cute also is that every time that you go to bed at night, that's when you save, but also right before that, you can see, like, he draws his adventures, the things that you've been doing throughout the day. Like, he draws a little scene of that in his, summer homework, and nice. You can choose to like, there's 3 options for some reason for what you're going to write about that little drawing, like a short, medium, and long option, but, like, I don't know. Like, you don't have to engage to that level, I guess. And yeah, so it's very cute. It's very, it's not a looker, and certainly like it's missing a few frames here and there. But it's not, it's good enough. Like, I wasn't expecting, something like incredibly proficient. It's very much done on a shoestring budget, but it satisfies, it scratches that itch. Like, if you just want to run around and climb up whatever you can see and find new stuff, like this is basically the game for you. I will end on one note though. That's, a bit of a downer maybe, but then again, like, maybe it just makes the game more charming. The localization leaves something to be desired. Now, all the characters are not dubbed. They speak most of the lines, and like it's in Japanese, so it's good if you're trying to learn, I guess. But I don't know if that is the reason why. Maybe like they kind of thought that their hands were tied with some of the dialogue, since like people proficient enough to understand spoken Japanese would notice that something was different. But when you read some of the dialogue, like a lot of the humor is based on the kid not understanding certain words that the adults are using, and then they kind of riff on that, like you'll have the cafe owner who's like, "Oh, I'm just your humble cafe owner," and then the kid says something, and then the cafe owner is like, "Oh, maybe you don't understand the word humble," and then the kid is like, "Isn't that doesn't that mean that you just like speak quietly, like mumble?"
Yes,
but then like, so I understood that little joke. But then, like, it kind of goes on about, like, cuts of chicken, and I admit I didn't follow that at all. And, like, then, like, they keep talking about tasty cutlets, and you can tell,
cutlets.
Like, yeah, they didn't, I can tell, yeah, like, I can see the structure of the joke. I know, like, it comes from, I see what's going on, but it's not making sense at all in English.
It's not landing at all.
No, it's not. And there's like another character. He's like this gruff bearded guy, like who works at the circus. Most of the time, he doesn't say anything except like "oh," and there's this one scene. I think it's in the demo, but like it's basically the start of the second day. Someone is teasing the kid about something. Mm-hmm. And the kid just keeps reacting like, huh? And then like the gruff guy is
Tim
like,
Taylor voices over here.
Yeah, and like the guy is reacting to that, and I honestly can't tell if he's like mocking the kid or if he's just like,
if he's a bonobo.
Yeah, or just them. Like it's
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I feel like I'm missing a lot in translation. So clearly I also have to start learn Japanese if I want to really get this game. But,
obviously, that's the only answer.
It is. So
I will say the NWR review also mentioned like there's some weirdness in this translation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, I forgot to check the NWR review. This game came out early August. I feel like there wasn't much of a splash, which is unfortunate because maybe this game came out like 5 years too late or something. Like right now, like we're awash in games. Like we feel like maybe if this game had come out a little bit earlier, there was, I don't know, from what I could see, more interest in like these, like, oh, for the first time, this game from Japan is coming here. And like, that's, like I feel like a lot of more people would have been excited then, and maybe people have forgotten about it now, like if it had been closer to Attack of the Friday Monsters, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But anyway, it's out there. It's, I'm glad I got to, I get to play it, and it's fairly solid. I'm enjoying what I'm playing.
If you've crossed all the animals you can stand, here's a new option for you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yes.
All right. Cool. So we're gonna call it here. Greg and John, they've been patiently waiting, and they're ready to go. So we're gonna let them bounce, and we're gonna wrap the show up ourselves. Greg, fastidiously, I know he's busy right now. Just waiting.
I'm not seeing his email about a pick.
Because he sent it to me. So Greg and I have a running email thread where back in March I sent him like 10 things to end the show with, and he picked one for this one. Although he gave me the opportunity to choose one. Regarding the ending music for tonight, with the recent news of Trails in the Sky getting a remake on Switch, I thought it might be a good time to go back to your suggestion of Trails from Zero's Super Arrange album. It has a nice serene air to it, after some of the more bombastic songs that have closed out recent episodes. As usual, the choice is yours. So the song that he is referencing is, as he mentioned, from a remix album for Trails in the Sky, which is the first of the two games that came out on Switch in that series, Trails from Sky and Trails from Zero that I talked about. Trails from Zero. Sorry, Trails from Zero is where it's from. That I talked about. Trails to Azure is the second one that I talked about earlier this year.
Trails in the Sky is the one that's getting remade for Switch.
Yes,
but it's
bleh.
It first came out on PSP. Yeah, like it's the first one that came to North America of those of the Legend of Heroes series. Blah 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 blah.
Exactly. So this is the Trails 2.0 got a album that is that contains a bunch of remixes of music, and these are pretty dramatic remixes. This is called the Super Arrange album. This song is called "Get Over the Barrier" - Silent Devotion. The song is called "Get Over the Barrier." It is a high action song that plays during boss battles. And they have in this remix, because the Nihon Falcom sound team is crazy, have remixed it into this kind of like, as I note here, a very mellow take on what is normally a very amped up song. But inside the song, a number of the character themes for our main four are buried. And so it ends up being a very kind of, not just a mellow song, but a song that's got some nice interwoven different melodies to sort of reinforce the fact that this group is now a team and they are confronting whatever this horrible thing that they're normally trying to fight is, but now chill and relaxed. So before we run the music, as always, emails, rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. We got a few emails this week. We'll get back to the email train next week, assuming I'm not here by myself. We slowly lose people. I don't know what's. Well, so that's
I'll
it.
be
So
there. I'll be there.
Oh, okay. Because if you're out next week and then I'm out the subsequent week, we'll have an episode with nobody hosting it. So they'll just get 2 hours and 20 minutes of silence. But that's how you know that we actually passed through the alien portal. So, with that in mind, music, enjoy it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
5.
Later. Bye-bye. Yeah.
5.
Why not?
4, 3, 2, 1.